Well, to get reaction, we are joined by DA Mpumalanga Health spokesperson Bosman Grobler this evening. Bosman, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, the video in and of itself really concerning, you know, even if you just, and I have to obviously describe it for our viewers. This 50-year-old woman is seen in this video laying naked on the floor in this facility, seemingly assaulted by a nurse. I mean, just finding out about the video, your initial thoughts?
Lady, thank you. Let me start off by saying good evening to yourself and also to our viewers. I think there's few words that can describe it. Shock, embarrassment, heartfelt condolences, and really a wake-up call for the health department of Mpumalanga.
Yeah. So if we look at just what's taken place here, the woman was admitted. She had hypertension and then a diabetic foot, and unfortunately lost her life. You have said that somebody needs to step in here, and you've called for the Health Professionals Council. Why?
Yes, look, I think there's as in everything, there's two sides of the story, but let's just look at the video. I don't think there's any excuse for any human being, regardless of what acts you've done or what you specifically did in hospital. There's no excuse for any human being to be treated the way that Mrs. Makhoba was treated. And that is really something we should recognize, and that the department should stand up and say, this is not the way we want to handle or care for our patients in the Department of Health or any of the 18 hospitals in Mpumalanga. It's really shocking. We've said for a long time as the Democratic Alliance that our hospitals in the province are death traps. People go there and they don't have a lot of hope to come out alive. But something like this just shows that there's no patience and no care for our patients, and that people really don't go to our hospitals with hope to come out. But for me specifically, looking at a video like that really touches my heart. I am an allied healthcare professional by qualification as well, and that is not the way that you learn how to, or that you are taught how to treat patients. We look at empathy, we look at really caring, and realizing that people with hypertension, with a diabetic foot, somebody might be in a low glycemia, in a high glycemia, that might make them act differently than they normally would have. And you would really expect a healthcare professional like a nurse to be able to identify that and act with more empathy.
You've talked about whether or not in Mpumalanga and in the health sector there are disciplinary processes to deal with unsavory conduct by healthcare practitioners, where we're seeing footage of a nurse assaulting a patient. What would the disciplinary process look like, and is it sufficient?
Well, I can definitely say it's not sufficient. You know, we don't just speak about things, we look at the evidence. At the current status, the Department of Health in Mpumalanga has got a medical negligence claims of 9 billion rand against them. There's many cases that are being investigated, and that just shows that the healthcare that is given in the province is not on the standard that it should be. Now, I would like to say something extra about that, but just having claims of 9 billion rand, which is more than a quarter of your budget for the entire year, that you might need to pay out on these claims is really extremely worrying. And we say that's a proof that there's not sufficient evidence, not sufficient, you know, there's no consequences for acts of maltreatment by our healthcare professionals. Yeah. There should be consequence. Obviously, there's processes to follow in a hospital, and if the healthcare professional has done the correct procedures, then they've got a foot to stand on. But it's all too often that we see that these healthcare professionals act irresponsibly, and then we have these claims against the department.
Yeah, just assist us with what we know about Tonga Hospital, the state of the hospital, its staffing, some of the challenges that the hospital in and of itself is facing.
Yeah, Naledi, thanks for that. If we speak about Tonga Hospital, it's a hospital that is often in the news, from a CEO that is changed very oftenly, a superintendent, so there's no real leadership at the hospital. At one stage, the hospital shared a CEO with Rob Ferreira Hospital in Mbombela. 200 kilometers between the two hospitals. There's no way in which you can take leadership. The community around Tonga Hospital has often closed the gates and said they are not happy with the treatment at the hospital. You know, the entire community of the Nkomazi municipality knows that this is not a hospital where you can really go and for sure say that you are going to come out. For us as the Democratic Alliance, and that brings me to my other point that I wanted to mention, we are really worried also about our healthcare professionals and the circumstances in which they work. And this is where we think the department should take responsibility for both the working circumstances of our healthcare professionals as well as the condition of our hospitals. Our hospitals are not in a great condition. The infrastructure is dilapidating. There's not enough equipment. There's not enough supplies for doctors and healthcare professionals to provide to the hospital. But on the other side, our healthcare professionals are totally overworked. There's a staff shortage, and further to that, they don't feel safe. We've also had many incidences in the province where healthcare professionals are being attacked. And if you don't feel safe and if you don't feel you've got the proper equipment and supplies to treat patients, then that's also a problem. So we are really worried about the state of the Department of Health in Mpumalanga, and we really would like the department to really have a look at our hospitals, make sure that they are properly supported, and we really call on the political leadership under the leadership of MEC Sasakane Manzini to take leadership, to take a firm stance on this and make sure that care in our hospitals are of a much better standard than we get in the province at the moment.
One thing that is you know, I suppose a feature of the times that we're living in is a lot of the time a story and a situation will get our attention because it has been caught on camera and it has circulated on social media. Lydia Makhoba losing her life, but the footage is there for people to see what happened to her. Is there a concern that this may be something that is ongoing at a hospital like Tonga Hospital that is not caught on camera?
Absolutely. You know, I always say these are the times that we are in, and this is also the age of it. Often politicians, departments use social media to boast about their good work and about their apparent successes. But then there's also the other side of the coin. If there's an incident like this, then social media is also going to expose that. And I think as soon as people see that there's consequence for that, then either the healthcare professionals or the department or whoever is responsible at our hospitals will be more careful about what happens in our hospitals. So I think it's a good thing as long as there's consequences. And that's why we as the Democratic Alliance has gone a step further. And we have written to the Health Professionals Council of South Africa to say this must please be investigated, because all too often we see the department with an internal investigation and there's no consequences. We are not on a witch hunt. We don't want somebody specifically on a personal agenda to be, to stand for this. But we would like patients of hospitals in Mpumalanga to feel safe to go to the hospitals, get proper treatment and come out, because that's what every citizen deserves.
Yeah, have you got no response from the Health Professionals Council?
At the moment, we have not. Our letter only went to them Thursday last week, so we will follow up on that, but our experience is that it does take a bit of time for them to come back.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Bosman. We'll be following up as well on that story. That there is, of course, Bosman Grobler of the DA Mpumalanga Health.